An Indiana poultry processor is finding success south of the border, and it's creating new demand for Hoosier-grown crops. A partnership between Farbest Foods in Jasper, Indiana, the USA Poultry and Egg Export Council, or USAPEEC, and Indiana's corn and soybean farmers has helped launch a turkey brand in Mexico. The effort has opened doors for Indiana agriculture while strengthening export markets. I'm Greg Allen for Hoosier Ag Today newscast, and today I'll be talking with three people who had a hand in this ambitious endeavor. Joining me now is Indiana Soybean Alliance board member and Bogstown farmer Chris Eck. Chris, thanks for joining me. First question, how did the partnership with USAPEEC and Farbest Foods align with ISA's long-term strategy for expanding soybean demand?
It comes together because our number one goal is to move Indiana products first. And with Farbest being in southwest Indiana, we know that they're using, anywhere from 15 to 17 loads of soybean meal, and anything that we can help promote items that come directly out of Indiana. That is what we focus on, is our products first.
Can you explain how soybean checkoff dollars helped support Farbest Foods' collaboration with Probaca and the launch of the Dos Familia turkey label in Mexico?
The biggest thing we do is we use those dollars that we get to promote those products, and that's what we do, is promotions of those products. And we've been working for 8 years to get a promotion on a product that's not usable or not sellable in Indiana, and now it's a thriving product in Mexico. So we're not taking any product from the Indiana that we were using. I mean, they are shipping dark meat quarters of turkeys down to Provoco, where they make pre-made meals out of them, and that's a product that doesn't affect anything that's leaving out of Indiana. And that, not a byproduct, but that's a product that's not as sellable in Indiana, and now it's being used in Mexico. And as that increases, that just increases all the corn that Indiana uses, that uses soybean meal. And when you're shipping, they're shipping 3 to 5 semi-loads a day of turkey down to Mexico versus 8 years ago when they were doing none. That's a big difference, and that's a lot of product moving.
How important are international poultry markets like Mexico to strengthening long-term demand for Indiana soybeans?
It's a huge deal because typically the international markets eat the parts of the poultry that we don't eat. And, if you can sell what we would often describe as the cast-off items of the birds as a quality item, food item in other countries, that makes the entire industry worth more, which means expansion was worth more, which means they need more feed, they need more product. And that's what we're all about, is expanding all those things so that the corn and bean demand is higher.
Chris, from a farmer perspective, why is investing in export market development for poultry products a smart use for checkoff funds?
I think it's one of the best uses because it increases the demand for it, for one. But what I noticed since I've been on the board is that we have a tendency to rely on the big names, the ADM, the Bunge, and the Cargill to market our product. But actually, they're only the logistics of it. If we want to market our product, which is U.S. corn, or Indiana corn more specifically, Indiana beans, that's something we're going to have to do as ourselves. And when you look at the cost of that dollar, it's money well spent to market our product. Any other business is going to spend way more of their budget on marketing the sale of their product, whereas the ag industry spends so little. And I think if we can, either increase that or at the very minimum, we maximize what we do, everything that we can increase the use.
Well, thank you, Chris. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll get thoughts from a Muncie farmer on the Hoosier Ag Today newscast, so stay tuned. Across our state, forests are more than beautiful spaces. They're living assets. When responsibly managed, woodlands can become a valuable part of a diversified farming operation. Healthy forests can provide income, support wildlife habitat, improve soil and water quality, and create opportunities for generations. Well-managed woodlands offer real financial benefits that can rival incomes from row crops. The Indiana Forestry and Woodland Owners Association is here to help you make the most of your forest resources. Learn how good management today can benefit your family, your land, and Indiana's environment for years to come. Find out more at ifwoa.org. We're back with the Hoosier Ag Today newscast, talking today about this partnership between Indiana and Mexico, expanding international markets for turkey and boosting demand for Hoosier grain. My next guest is Indiana Soybean Alliance board member and Muncie farmer, Jenna Scott. Jenna, thanks for joining me. Tell me, how did the collaboration with USAPEEC and Farbest Foods come together? And what role did checkoff funding play in that?
Farbest is, a big producer of turkeys for us in the state, and they were looking for an avenue to move more turkeys and product that wasn't as popular here in the States. Popular products for them would be their breast meat and the white meat from the turkey. So they wanted to partner with Indiana Soybean Alliance and the Indiana Corn Marketing Council to see if there were avenues internationally for them to move meat products, which benefits us as soy and corn producers because, that in turn means more animals that have other homes. So it was a couple of year process to get, the transportation there and the regulations there, but Pro Boca has become a champion for dark meat turkey in Mexico. They have started adding it into value-added products where they pre-package it and put it into sauces where a family can just throw that in a skillet and cook it, and it has become its own market really, and introduces another protein that is of a better value to some more price-conscious consumers.
Why is supporting poultry exports an effective strategy for increasing soy demand?
Yeah, so a lot of where our soybean meal goes, especially in Indiana, is towards feeding those poultry, ducks, turkeys, chickens. I mean, it's especially important for us because if we don't have those animals to feed, those animals are elsewhere and other states are gaining that, benefit of having their commodities go towards those animals. So yeah, we are very happy to have a strong poultry industry in Indiana as commodity producers, and we want to help promote them just as much as we can because we can't do it without them.
Jenna, can you describe the economic ripple effect for Indiana soybean growers when a company like Farbest Foods expands into international markets?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can just speak from experience, not just from Farbest, but on other USMEF trips. You see Indiana brands in grocery stores across the country, and it just really hits home how important those markets are for us to stay viable when you see meat from South America, you see meat from Asia. You want to be there just as prominent as those other countries are.
And then how does this project support rural economic development in communities like the one you live in?
Yeah, so I like to think of it as those turkeys that make their way down to Mexico. Yeah, they may have started in southern Indiana, but there's people that work in those facilities in southern Indiana, and there's farmers that feed those turkeys, and there's, people that work in the office in that HR facility. So yes, we're not just moving turkeys, we're keeping Indiana Hoosiers employed, and we're keeping farmers sustainable and economically viable and being able to do what we can do.
And thank you, Jenna. We've got one more guest to talk to from USAPEEC when we return with more Hoosier Ag Today newscast, so don't go anywhere.
I'm Matthew Chapman, and I farm in Henry County, Indiana. Indiana Soybean Alliance and Indiana Corn Marketing Council invest checkoff dollars into building demand for corn and soybeans internationally. I've seen this work firsthand, and it's been eye-opening to see the growth in these markets, which also brings dollars back to our farms. Promoting U.S. corn and soybeans and increasing global demand is critical to the success of farmers right here in Indiana.
This message is brought to you by the Indiana Soybean and Corn Checkoffs.
Welcome back to the Hoosier Ag Today newscast. We're talking today about this collaboration between two companies in two different countries, and through the partnership with Mexican meat processor Probaca and Indiana-based Farbest Foods. The companies created the Dos Familia turkey label, which is gaining traction with consumers in Mexico. But it couldn't have happened without the support from Indiana checkoff groups, Indiana Soybean Alliance, and Indiana Corn Marketing Council, and through USAPEEC, the USA Poultry and Egg Export Council. My final guest today is with USAPEEC, Shelby Watson, Director of Global Marketing and Allied Industry Programs. Shelby, thank you for joining us. Tell us, how has the partnership between ISA, ICMC, and USAPEEC strengthened Indiana's position in global protein markets?
So Indiana Soy has been a member of USAPEEC for 23 years, and Indiana Corn has been a member for 17 years. So this is a long-term relationship that we have built over several years of projects and working specifically in the turkey industry and in the duck industry, so that soy and corn produced in Indiana is exported through poultry products that are raised there in the state. So it's a win-win for soy and corn farmers on both sides, domestically and internationally.
Shelby, what does the success of the Dos Familia label in Mexico tell you about the future of value-added agricultural exports?
So our program with Probaca that has been sponsored by Indiana Soy and Corn for several years has actually been kind of groundbreaking for USAPEEC, and we've tried to replicate that program in other markets around the world because it's been so successful. So it definitely is creating a whole new market for us beyond just trying to get onto retail markets and getting in front of consumers. This is a whole nother avenue of products that we can get on shelves besides just your regular frozen chicken leg quarters. So it's very positive, and we see a lot of opportunity, not just in Mexico, but in all of the markets we're in around the world.
How do soybean and corn growers directly benefit when Indiana turkey products gain international market share?
So when we gain market share for any of our products, and turkey specifically, it's creating a consistent demand. So that is a consistent need for your soybeans and your corn. And so as that market share expands, more and more need grows for your meal. So any increase in market share is just is a spot you can count on, and you don't have to worry about in the future where your meal is going to go because we've got that market share.
And then looking ahead, how will continued collaboration help grow international demand for Indiana-grown feed grains?
Yeah. So the demand that we create around the world is super important, even in the small markets. So of course we have Mexico, our number one trading partner. China has always been a little bit of a tumultuous relationship, but a large market for us. We can't rely on those two alone because if, like with China, it's tumultuous. If they're not importing U.S. poultry products, we need somewhere for all of that product to go. So when we diversify our markets and we work in some of the smaller markets like Georgia, Armenia, Guatemala, smaller countries like that, it may not look like a lot when you look at it on a graph, but it makes up a large portion of our exports. And when we grow demand in all of those different markets, it just increases the need for meal at home. When we move products out of the U.S., we'll always need more soybean and corn.
And thank you, Shelby. And thank you to all of my guests today. You know, as demand grows, so does the need for turkey feed, much of it made from Indiana corn and soybean meal. And that means expanding international markets for turkey can also help boost long-term demand for Hoosier grain. And that's a great thing. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Hoosier Ag Today newscast. Thank you for joining me. I'm Greg Allen.